Tim's News Explosion. 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 Tim's News Explosion.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Tim's News Explosion for this Monday, the 20th of May, 2024. We are live on the Wilmsfront YouTube channel, the Wilmsfront Rumble channel, and the Wilmsfront Odyssey channel. Hello to everyone in the live chats. Linda, Nanya, Peak Aussieman, and also Brucey. Linda's started the push to make sure that if you're watching, push the like button because it all helps with the algorithm. It is 9 p.m. here in Melbourne, Victoria, where the local pro-Palestine protesters had a busy weekend. First, they stormed their way into the Victorian State Labor Conference at Moonee Valley Racecourse, where they managed to get right into the conference hall entrance, and they pushed over one of the security guards on the escalators, and Jacinta Allen had to run for cover into a conference room, and she posted on X later in the day, "Today, protesters and intruders brought violence, homophobia, and anti-Semitism to the front door of State Conference. I'm disgusted. No one should be cowed by these bullies. As Premier, my priority is a cohesive society where all Victorians feel safe and respected. That's what I'm fighting for." Now, as always with these pro-Palestine events, gate crashing, various public events, they're a combination of the Antifa socialists and the radical Islamists. Now, the organizers denied that there was a homophobic slur apparently directed at one of the MPs. Now, nobody not many people, well, they treated with suspicion what Jacinta Allen, the accusation that she made, because after all, this is the government that called freedom protesters Nazis. Hello, Dawn. But the next day was the no hate mate rally, the Stop the Hate Mate rally against anti-Semitism. That was at the State Library, and the pro-Palestine mob turned up to counter protests. They were pushed back by Victoria Police, and there was one Islamist who was caught on camera making a homophobic slur there to use that loaded language at this wasn't captured on camera. The Islamist calling this a Jewish attendee a kipper wearing faggot, but this is when he turned the camera on.
Sexuals can watch. You biggie fuck. Have a look at you. You fucking ugly dog. Take your little boyfriends and walk off.
Come on. Now there was a lot of high-profile political speakers at that rally. There was, of course, a lot of Liberal and coalition frontbenchers, such as Sarah Henderson, the Shadow Education Minister, James Patterson, the Shadow Home Affairs Minister. There was a few from the left, such as Nicholas Rees, the Deputy Lord Mayor of Melbourne, probably wanting to make sure that he's able to court Jewish business owners' votes for his campaign for Mayor of Melbourne. So yes, they, as always, Melbourne is the protest capital of Melbourne. Now, despite us living in a surveillance state, they can never identify these far left Antifa socialists when they commit violence at counter rallies. Remember the assault on Auditing Australia at the Let Women Speak rally by Transtifa. The Antifa socialists, they're certainly strange bedfellows, pardon the pun, with the radical Islamists. This is of course, their latest cause. Other weeks they're Transtifa, then their Extinction Rebellion. The list goes on and on and on. Certainly useful idiots of the radical Islamists. The Victorian Greens this week in Parliament were kicked out for wearing the Palestinian kafalas, the tea towels. Although Pauline Hanson decided to bring a Israeli scarf into the Senate and was told to take it off. In my opinion, the only scarves that should be allowed in our Houses of Parliament should be the green and gold, the official Australian colours, because this is the Australian Parliament. You should be cheering on Australia, not a foreign nation. But yes, going back to my point, strange that they can't seem to, in this digital surveillance age, track these far left extremists, but of course it hasn't stopped. They still want to track the rest of the population. We had the digital ID pass the Australian House of Representatives last week. It passed the Senate previously. Now the Liberal and Nationals voted against it, but basically because they weren't happy with the final version of the digital ID bill. And remember, this was drafted when Scott Morrison was Prime Minister, as was the disinformation laws. So certainly it's easier for them to oppose it when they're in opposition, but it would have passed if Scott Morrison had been re-elected. We'd still be getting digital ID and we'd be getting the disinformation bill. Now, according to the press release from the Department of Finance, that this provides certainty for the expansion of Australian government digital ID systems for and for providers and services to apply to join the government's system. Because how it will work is that if you want to open a bank account, a utility, to basically function as a member of society, they'll demand your digital ID, and it's called a voluntary accreditation scheme for digital ID. Now, the assistant treasurer, Stephen Jones, he said it was voluntary, but then later on, well, I'll play this clip.
There's currently no means, there is no legislation which provides a consumer with the right to say, I want to use that digital ID or I don't want to use that digital ID, until this bill is passed into law. And once this bill is passed into law, there will be a right for a consumer to say, yes, I want to use that digital ID system, or no, I don't want to use that digital ID system. So for those members of the coalition who are proposing to vote no because they think they're not going to have a choice, if you vote no and this bill goes down, you will be denying yourself and those that you represent an actual choice about whether a business can require that you use some form of digital ID or some other form of digital ID. So it creates the choice and creates the mechanism through which a voluntary use of a digital ID system can be maintained and mandated in this country. And creates the mechanism through which a voluntary use of a digital ID system can be maintained and mandated in this country.
What do you mean by that?
Did you all get that? Voluntarily mandated. Well, we did have a voluntary choice to take the COVID vaccines, and we also had a choice of Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, or Novavax. So there was choice in voluntarism, except that you couldn't work in almost all industries, at least in Victoria, and go into certain premises. Now, the government has already got the digital ID website set up to go. Now, I titled this show the digital ID to rule them all, in reference to Lord of the Rings, the one ring to rule them all. Now, there was more gaslighting in the parliament where they say that, oh, actually, the digital ID you have to hand over less information. That your digital ID, it's just one. Even though to have a standard identity strength, you need to have driver's license, passport, birth certificate, or if you're a foreigner, visa, citizenship certificate, IMI card, Medicare card. So you have to at least have two of the following. And for a strong identity strength, you have to have a passport and one of the following: birth certificate, citizenship certificate, drive, and verify your photo. So yes, everything they say that it's only going to you're only going to hand over one digital ID, but it's got all of your pretty much like a lot of your ID stored in the system. Now they claim that that the government securing your identity will protect in the future against cyber hacks like Optus and Medibank Private. There was another cyber security incident last week with the federal government's previous prescriptions to pharmacy delivery service for paper and electronic prescription, MediSecure. Obviously not very secure. If something's got the word secure in their name, you can it's a lot of the time it's the opposite. So apparently this was the previous provider. So there's the new contractor is called ERX. And so apparently consumers can continue to access medicine safely through this national prescription services. But of course, the federal government never gets hacked. I mean, there's never been a case of a foreign adversary hacking government services to get information on government services. And of course, this type of digital ID system, it could never be used to, well, cancel, delete a citizen, because when like banking deplatforming, this is just not the banks deciding, oh look, Blair Cottrell's a customer, let's close his account. There's a lot of nudging that goes on, and same with the social media deletion. And Nigel Farage, he exposed how it was because he was deemed by the governments as a politically exposed person. That's why he was debanked, but he fought back. Now, what will be the first major rollout of digital ID? Well, basically to entice Australians to sign up for digital ID. Basically, the COVID the COVID vaccine digital vaccination passport and the COVID QR check-in in the various state and territory apps, which was connected to the federal government's Medicare Express ID. That was basically a soft launch. And remember how easy it was to get compliance for people to download these apps and load all of and allow themselves to be tracked by the governments to protect themselves from a virus with an over 99% survival rate, and store their private medical information. Well, the way that they're going to attempt to get the Australian people to sign up to digital ID is for social to sign up to social media accounts to protect the children, of course, because there's this new campaign to restrict the young people from signing up for social media accounts. So Peter Malinowskis, he wants those aged under 14 to be barred from social media accounts. And on the weekend, News Corporation newspapers, so the Herald Sun in Melbourne, Daily Telegraph in Sydney, the Courier Mail in Brisbane, they launched the Let Them Be Kids campaign to raise age limits for teens and social media. And of course, the reason you have to remember that how do children access social media? It's because parents give them an internet enabled smartphone. But of course, governments are not going to say to parents, you need to parent more. I thought that Alexandra Marshall nailed it on Twitter X yesterday. We have a generation of lost children, a parenting crisis, and people demanding the state fix it. Why? So the government can radicalize these vulnerable children as ideological soldiers. You can't fix bad parenting with state intervention. It comes from the parents. Remember, over the last 30 years, governments have been obsessed with female workforce participation. They've introduced all of these subsidies for childcare. So, of course, mothers can't have it all. So the only option is for children to be dumped in daycare, where the state raises them and, of course, indoctrinates them as well. And a lot of parents these days, when they do have their children, don't want to parent, and so the screen, the digital screen, keeps them occupied. So, but the government is not going to say to parents, "Oh, you need to lift your game, be better parents." No, they're going to say, "We're going to do everything in our power to do your job for you and give ourselves more power in the process." So, and of course, News Corp, they, of course, would love to go back to the days where the only way for people to get their news was one of the big three: television, radio, and newspapers. So this is self-interest here. And now their petition, despite this being a national media organization with history of whipping parents into a moral panic frenzy, they've only managed to get 13,000 signatures on their petition. But of course, the needing to protect the children, this is a cover to get people to sign up for the digital ID. It's like in the terms and conditions. We need to restrict children's access to social media by having you adults sign up for digital ID age verification. And this was put out last week by Milk Bar TV, who revealed that he and his wife are being stalked by the e-safety commissioner for being critical of her online. The e-safety commissioner makes daily lists of people who criticize her, Julia Mangran, Karen.
A new push is underway to ban children from using all forms of social media. The federal opposition is calling for an age verification trial to shield young eyes from harmful images online.
The federal government facing mounting pressure to ban teenagers under 16 from social media.
The coalition are talking about stopping children from getting access to social media, say till they're 14 or 15.
I'd like to actually see people's identity be verified before they can get an account.
Yeah, that's not.
And I think if we were to see that, we'd see a lot of this sort of stuff go away.
Verification is a great point, Justin. I completely agree. Imagine how great the social media would be if there weren't those, no faces handles out there to attack everybody. But anyway, look, I think I've got children. I know that they put in dodgy birth dates to get Facebook and Instagram, etc. when they were younger. You try and monitor it as best you can, but as a parent, it's really difficult to try to police, even if you are across what the programs are that you can use. At the moment, I think it's 13 and over to have Twitter or Facebook. What these kids are seeing is a problem.
It's a worry.
Not just from pornography, but everything else that they're being exposed to.
It is a worry.
Look, something has to be done.
The platforms actually do have in their terms of service certain age limits. The issue here is getting them to enforce it. Are they actually going to enforce it? So, of course, we're looking at every method to make sure that we keep especially children and other vulnerable cohorts safe. We're actively looking at issues around recommender systems. We are scoping an age assurance pilot that won't only go to in terms of access to particular content like pornography, but also whether there's other use examples that can be applied to, and that's being looked at across government.
As Dawn Browning says, protect the children, lol, while they cut their willies off. Yes, this is the contradiction that children, their young minds, that it's bad for their development to view social media, but they're mature minors when it comes to gender transitions, taking puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones. So they're very. It seems there's a lot of selection about whether children are too young for certain things. So they're too young for social media, but they're not too young for to have all of this bodily modification. Okay, got it. And they're certainly not too young for drag queen story time and to be read all of these LGBT indoctrination books, which we're going to get to in a moment. Hello, Wolfish Naturalist. Good to see you. So yesterday, Anthony Albanese announced that $6.5 million would be provided for the age verification trial. I've covered the e-Safety Commissioner's roadmap to age verification on previous shows.
What the government did in last week's budget was to provide $6.5 million for trial of age assurance technologies to assess their effectiveness. How any age requirement gets implemented is of course important. And what this has done on top of the quadrupling that we put in funding for the e-Safety Commissioner is to make sure that any impediments that are put in place that restrict young people from having access to social media will work, are effective. So we have a joint inquiry. A cabinet decision was made upon recommendation of Michelle Rowland that we do that. That will be kicked off very soon.
Social media is going to be one of the use case scenarios that will be examined. By testing these particular settings, we will have a much better understanding of what they are able to do to build this into their systems.
See, now that's some bullshit.
And now the ABC aired a segment on the different methods of digital age verification.
So, how could age verification work? There's age gating. It's a landing page that asks you if you're old enough, but you're welcome to lie. Then you've got account-based checks, where another platform like Google or Facebook vouches for you. That means sharing extra data, and it's not always accurate. Biometrics can estimate your age based on your face and voice, but it's considered risky because that data is so uniquely yours. That leaves hard identifiers, government-issued ID like your actual passport or your driver's licence. Accurate? Absolutely, but it's risky too.
Then there's the question of how that data is packaged and sent. It can be stored on your device, in a digital ID, or using an anonymised age token.
And now, I've previously reported on these anonymized age tokens. So how would this actually work? Would you say, I don't know, go down to the post office and provide your digital ID, and they give you this token, which should be some sort of code? Or because it seems that if you entered your digital ID into a computer online and then it's an anonymized code, then there's still some tracking to it, unless there's some sort of guaranteed encryption. But of course, a lot of us would be rightfully suspicious. Yeah, even though we had to enter our ID online on a government website to get an anonymous token, and of course, these things they aren't foolproof. I mean, there would still be cases of minors getting access to a token, just like back in the pre-digital age. There was, even though dirty magazines are restricted to over 18s, there were still cases of children getting their hands on them. And a digital ID is a lot more invasive than I've spoken about how in the old television V chips that would lock out programs that weren't rated TVG. I mean, not TVs were analog; they weren't digitally traced. So there is so much more. There is so much. Pretty much with digital footprints, if your information is going online on the government system, there's absolutely a lot of us would not believe the government assurances that it's going to be secure and anonymous. P. Cosiman says they want the biometrics. That's their ideal. They know everything about you, including underlying health conditions. So going back to this News Corp campaign, let them be kids. So now they quote a whole bunch of experts like psychologists, neuroscientists about the development that the effect screen use has on the development of minds. And then there's one of the people quoted is Melinda Tankard-Reese from Collective Shout, who says that thin women online creates body image issues for girls and young boys exposed to violent pornography. Some of them try to reenact it on their girlfriends. Obviously, what Melinda Tankard-Reese would get girls writing to a lot of confirmation bias. The girls are not going to write that they've had a pleasant experience dating a young man. Now, my personal dealings with young people is that despite all that is thrown at them via the state indoctrination, and obviously what growing up in the digital age, most of them seem to me normal, well-adjusted young people, and they seem no different from the young people of my generation. As the old saying goes, the kids are all right. Peak Ozyman says, oh my God, not body positive. Of course, with the body positivity movement, they take it to the other end by promoting people like Lizzo, who are unhealthy. Mitch says they are body positive unless it's a white male. So they talk, and a lot of this talks about that they say that teenagers they're not mature enough for social media, but they poll teenagers to say that to quote that social media affects their mental health. Of course, bullying, bitchy girls, that all existed pre the digital age as well. And hey, how about banning children from going to school for 2 years and not allowing them to socialize with their friends, which meant that their only interaction with other children, with the outside world, was through a screen. Maybe that had an impact as well. So they're more than happy, the governments, for children to live through the screen when there was a virus around. But all of a sudden, it's going up here. This is what News Corp says. Says that the age limit that children can access social media should be raised to 16 as Australian kids face the worst humanitarian crisis of a generation. Humanitarian crisis. I would say children going to school hungry because their parents can't afford to feed them. That is a humanitarian crisis. I mean, seriously, talk about sensationalism. I mean, Brucey says, imagine you're 12 years old and your only friends are online after what they did to you in 2020, and now they want to take your only social interactions away. Also, these stories about these high school boys creating lists ranking females in their year level. This is, well, it fits into the domestic violence moral panic, and also that young men are being corrupted by online influencers such as Andrew Tate. And Flynn Holman on the National Observer Substack blog, which I all encourage you to subscribe to, as well, of course, the Unshackled Substack. He absolutely nailed it. This all began this pile-on against teenage boys. So there was two who were eventually expelled from Yarra Valley Grammar, and then there was another school whose a list was found, which was McClellan College in Frankston, whose most famous pupil was Blair Cottrell. So clearly, Blair's toxic male influence lives on at McClellan College. He's the Andrew Tate of Frankston. Of course, Blair, he raised $2,000 in one day for his new laptop to be on the Joel, Blair and Tom show, which was pretty impressive. Which would certainly alarm his detractors as well. But going here, so as Flynn Holman says, that any defense of those young men could brand us complicit in their crime. When a chance to virtue signal arises, commentators are quick to flaunt their progressive credentials. And so the crux of the issues, the leftist elite underlying assumption that women are always right. If women's feelings are hurt, there must never be a problem. Never mind the fact that women experience more intense negative emotions that men is well documented, or that a dynamic is certainly enhanced in the hormonal school environment. The fact that the police are called because of lists, I mean, this is And remember the Victorian Premier Jacinta Allen, she joined on the pile calling it disgraceful. And a lot of people pointed out, I'm sure that that girls at school rate the boys in their year level. Dawn Browning says the Pines is based these days. Well, Frankston is still one of the last vestiges of old Australia. The city of Frankston. And now, did anyone see speaking of female victimhood, Pearl Davis is discussion debate with Lauren Chen on Tim Pool's program. Now, Pearl Davis invited Lauren Southern and Sydney Watson on as well, who are trying to promote feminism in the conservative movement. Of course, Lauren Southern claims that she's not a feminazi, but basically because her marriage didn't work out and she didn't like the trad wife, she basically is a believe all women when it comes to Hillary Crowder versus Stephen Crowder, Crowder versus Crowder. And when Lauren Chen, whose husband runs Tenant Media, which Lauren Southern is a personality of, Pearl Davis, when she confronted Lauren Chen about her one-sided coverage of the Crowder divorce, she basically capitulated. And this is common with women of both sides of politics. When things don't go their way, they revert to feminist victimhood. Doesn't matter when they come from the left or the right. This is why I haven't been a fan of the TERFs, because the F stands for feminists. So at that infamous Let Women Speak rally in March 2023, when Thomas Sowell and the National Socialist Network turned up, which of course led to Liberal leader John Prosciutto panicking and on the second attempt expelled Moira Deeming, who accompanied Kelly J. Keane to the stage in Melbourne for the event. I said at the time I didn't like a lot of the TERF speakers, because the crux of all feminism, whether it's first wave, second wave, third wave, is basically man-hating, and men are bad, and so there needs to be controls on their masculinity. There was some News Corp female clickbait writer who said we need to ban men gathering in groups, because apparently all men talk about is how to rape and abuse women. So, which of course reminds us of COVID gathering restrictions. So you remember that Moira Deeming launched legal action against John Prosciutto, because remember in his campaign to expel Moira Deeming from the Victorian Liberal Parliamentary Party, where he said that Kelly J. Keane was associated with neo-Nazis. So earlier this year, Kelly J. Keane and one of the local TERFs, Angela Jones, sued John Prosciutto for defamation. On Friday at midnight, John Prosciutto released a statement on his website apologizing to Angela Jones and Kelly J. Keane. In effect, settling those defamation cases. Though the next day at a news conference, John Prosciutto, he didn't want to quote his statement on his website in any way.
Sorry to Angela Jones and Kelly J. Keane. I've made a statement as part of the resolution of two of those three matters. I refer everybody to that statement. I haven't spent a lot of time on it. My lawyers informed me yesterday that the matters had been resolved. I'm pleased that they're resolved, but my focus has always been on the Victorian people.
What does that statement say, John?
The statement has been put up And the statement has been put up on my media, and I think it's there for all.
Or was it the lawyers only?
I was consulted on the drafting of the statement, but it's there for everybody to see. It's up on my website.
Your words?
They are my words.
So why can't you repeat some of what that statement is?
My statement is up on the website, and I refer anybody who's interested to go to it. The statement is the product of a settlement that was reached after very reasonable discussions between the parties. I'm going to refer every question to that statement.
You're always calling for transparency from the Labor government. That statement was dropped overnight at a time that you say taking out the trash, and now you don't want to talk about it. It looks like you're hiding. Why won't you just come out and talk about it?
But the statement speaks for itself. It's the product of agreement between the parties. That the timing of the statement was an agreement between the parties. It was reached very amicably, and it's there for everybody to see. And in the interest of transparency, every single Victorian can go and look at that statement.
Some of us work in a medium where you need audio and visual. Could you say some of those statements, some of what the statement says?
I'm going to refer everybody who's interested to that statement, which is on my website, which people can read.
So part of your push to expel Moira Deeming was her association with Kelly J. Keane and Angela Jones. You now say they've done nothing wrong. Will you apologise to Moira?
My understanding is that the lawyers between the parties in this matter and Mrs. Deemings are still talking, and that's been the case for some time. So they'll continue.
Because it wasn't your lawyers that pushed the expulsion motion, it was you and other people in the party. What's your personal view on this now that you've put out a statement, an apology, saying these women have done nothing wrong?
Sorry, Doc.
They've done nothing wrong. Has Moira then done something wrong?
The settlement that's been reached, as I've said, was the result of some extensive and comprehensive discussions between the representatives for the parties in the two matters involved. The wording is very precise, and I think you'll appreciate that I want to refer any questions about what that statement is to the statement itself, rather than give a commentary on the statement, because they did reflect an agreed position. The words used are very deliberate and very precise, and that's why I think it's important to look to the statement and draw the conclusions from the statement itself.
Do you actually believe in this statement, or is this something that's been drafted to make it go away?
There's nothing in the statement that I don't stand by. It represents an outcome, and as I said, the words used and that were agreed between the parties were very deliberately used by the parties working together to reach a settlement, and very precise. And that's why I'm being very careful in referring any questions to that statement.
Will you read your statement? So that we can verify it's from you, you're actually saying this, these are your words.
No, I'm going to refer any questions to the statement.
Yeah, so did everyone follow that? So he said it is his words, but they were drafted as part of a legal settlement with lawyers involved. Is he scared to say anything else because it might contradict something which, well, we're told is his statement? Well, let's have a look at his statement and let's read it. It's so that, this is also a visual audio medium. So let's see. This is the statement that John Prosciutto refused to read out himself, but published on his website. Kelly J. Keane and Angela Jones are passionate women's rights activists with long histories of advocacy in Australia and internationally. I agree with them that genuine community concerns regarding women's safety and access to single-sex spaces, services and sport warrant meaningful public discussion. I strongly believe in the inherent dignity and worth of all people as expressed in the Liberal Party's We Believe statement and platform. Liberal Party I lead would never tolerate hateful and divisive rhetoric, nor abide by neo-Nazism, white supremacy, or other extremist ideologies. I also believe that all public figures have a responsibility to denounce such extremism in all its forms. I do not believe that it is appropriate to knowingly associate or share platforms with individuals who hold or express these extremist views. I believe that there is no room to be blithe or cavalier in the face of neo-Nazism. I have never believed nor intended to assert that Kelly J. Keane and Angela Jones are neo-Nazis. It is also now clear from public statements made by Ms. Keane and Ms. Jones that They share my belief that Nazism is odious and contemptible. People engaged in robust public debate do not always have the ability to express themselves perfectly. This is one reason that we should give those we may disagree with some benefit of the doubt. I recognize that there may have been times when my comments could have been more clearly differentiated between the organisers of the 18th of March 2023 Let Women Speak rally and the neo-Nazis who attended the steps of Parliament House on that day. It has never been my intention to convey that I believe Miss Keane and Miss Jones to be neo-Nazis or that they were members of neo-Nazi groups. As far as my comments may have been misunderstood as conveying that I believe this to be the case, I apologize for any hurt, distress, or harm that has occurred. I also implore all participants in public debate, including online, to behave with respect and decency towards others. I condemn the use of threats, intimidation, and abusive language, particularly misogynistic, vile, and explicit language that has no place in our society. I reiterate my condemnation of the neo-Nazis who attended the steps of Parliament House on 18th of March 2023. There is a place for meaningful and sincere public discourse on women's safety and women's rights. There is no place for neo-Nazism in Victoria or the Victorian Liberal Party. So John Pesciuto hears the defamation action brought against him by exiled MLC, Moira Redeeming, that is set for September in the federal court. If a settlement is not reached. DML says he should have read paragraphs 6 and 7 out loud, but he's a little weasel. Now, moving on to the federal budget, which was delivered last Tuesday night by the Treasurer, Jim Chalmers. Most of it had been announced prior, so we knew that there was going to be a $9 billion surplus, and though they are projecting deficits in the forward estimates. So even though there is a surplus this year, there is going to be tens of billions of dollars of deficits as far as the eye can see. But there was the $300 electricity bill bribe, $300 off your electricity bill, which is apparently not going to be inflationary because Jimbo says that it's you're going to be paying less for power. So, but of course that's an extra $300 which people might spend on other things as well, not necessarily bank as well. And then of course there is the $20 billion Made in Australia future fund. Then there's the money to go to green hydrogen. The ABC they put out a winners and losers of the federal budget. So it has so there we go, green manufacturing. So there is going to be 14 billion to the budget over the medium term for $2 incentive for every kilogram of green hydrogen produced. And so in the budget, there will be $161 million for a national firearms register. Already announced was the $1 billion for the Leaving Domestic Violence program, the $5,000 in financial support for women leaving relationships. Of course, that could never be rorted. Now, some of the losers, it says international students, because there's going to be a cap introduced at a later date by the federal government, would be migrants. So the government's going to cap the next financial year permanent migration program at thousand places. Net overseas migration, they're going to attempt to halve it to 260,000. Now they're saying this that this is not going to affect the skilled migrants that apparently we need to be the servant class in aged care. So there's going to still be a $3,000 Indian graduates and early career professionals program for them to live and work in Australia for up to 2 years. Indian nationals seeking to apply will pay $25 to enter a ballot and then pay $365 for the visa if they're successful. There's a separate ballot for working and holiday visas introduced from China, Vietnam, and India. And also it has as losers, universities because of the international students cap. And it also has as losers sheep farmers because the government, the Labor government, if it's still in power by May 1, 2028, is going to be banning live sheep exports. There's going to be 107 million to help the industry end the trade. Now, this is going to affect Western Australians farmers the most, but a group of 5 Labor state MPs have an idea. They are going to push for alternate proteins, tofu, bugs, and algae to replace meat days before live sheep ban. So not only are we getting digital ID, an idea from the World Economic Forum, also eating the bugs, because apparently consuming less meat that will also reduce climate change and also reduce toxic masculinity, because apparently meat eating is a cause of domestic and sexual violence. Dawn Browning is linking to the Odyssey chats as well. I get Rumble comments filtering through the StreamYard software, but not Odyssey yet. They don't have an API yet. Now, in Peter Dutton's budget reply, he said that he would cut further permanent and net migration. So he would cut permanent migration to 140,000 per year and net migration to 160,000. Now, this was immediately attacked by all of the Labor MPs and ministers, saying it would cost the budget. And of course, all of the vested interests in the higher education sector say that this would cripple our greatest export, education. And the thing is that because Peter Dutton said, we'll still allow in all the skilled migrants, and they're saying we need people to build the homes, because there's this housing when we're not there's not enough homes being built to house all that. Well, when I say house Australians right now, or should I say be able to afford their own homes, there is not enough being built just to keep up with the people imported into Australia. So, and Peter Dutton also announced that he would ban foreigners and new arrivals from purchasing existing homes. Now, you remember on previous shows I've talked about that there's a existing restriction on that only those foreigners who are settling into Australia can buy existing homes, but foreigners can buy new dwellings. So this is why you have all of these new apartment towers. There's still heaps going up in Melbourne and Sydney. A lot of them are snapped up by foreign buyers. So Peter Dutton, for some reason, is not restricting foreigners buying new housing as well. That is quite interesting there. And so even though the Labor Party is cutting back on immigration, apparently Peter Dutton, it's racist dog whistling when he suggests a substantial one. It's still definitely there should be an aim for net zero migration. I mean, the fact that I know that in the roads in Victoria, I mean, it's taking 26 billion and another 4 years to build that northeast link, and there's no guarantee that that won't be clogged when it opens by 2028. And no matter how many roads they widen, traffic is still a nightmare as well. So not keeping up with the infrastructure or the housing. And of course, Peter Dutton, he is also, it's bipartisan to continue the mass migration from India. Remember Peter Dutton's visit to India at the end of last year, where he also did turban dress up as well. He bragged to the Indians when he was Home Affairs Minister how many Indians he let into Australia. So don't be fooled. I mean, it's good that both parties are promising to reduce migration, but the Labor Party, they clearly, the reason why they're calling Peter Dutton saying that he's engaging in racist dog whistling is because, well, nobody courts the migrant vote better than the Labor Party. And so they're going to go around to their ethnic religious electorates and say that Peter Dutton wants less of your kind coming into Australia. He probably didn't even want you to come to Australia in the first place. You need to vote for us because we provide for the all of your multicultural needs. And of course, this also is why the Labor Party is also trying to be as pro-Palestine as possible without getting accusations for anti-Semitism. So last week, a WA Labor Senator, Fatima Payman, who's an Afghan refugee who wears the hijab, said in the federal parliament, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. And Anthony Albanese has said that that's inflammatory. And so now the Liberal opposition is saying, why don't you expel her from for saying this? Now, of course, sometimes the multicultural multicultural and woke agenda that the Labor Party promotes clashes, and that is why we had on May the 1st, Cumberland City Council, they voted to remove from council libraries this same-sex parents book. Now, the Minns Labor government, they threatened to withdraw funding from the council. So there was another council meeting last Wednesday where it was clear that calls had been made to the Labor councillors from higher ups because all Labor councillors, including the Islamic councillor, remember Mohammed Hussein, he said an hour before the vote, it went for 4 hours. the council meeting, Mohammed Hussein said that he would vote to not vote to overturn the removal of the book. Because he said that homosexuality goes against the values and teaching of Islam. I ask you to respect my position. Well, an hour later, he compromised his religious values. Clearly got a text from some Labor higher up, maybe threatening his pre-selection. So all Labor councillors voted to put the book back in the council libraries, in the children's sections. So the final vote was 12-2. Only Steve Christou, who was the original mover, and another independent councillor, Sarkis, voted to keep the ban. So clearly the fix was in. So the inner city LGBT freak show rocked up in Maryland's. So Chris Coveries, Chris De Bruyne, he was there to live stream. Thankfully, there was no outbreak of violence. So that one, this one here looks a bit like a. Is that Molly Ringwald? Remember that 80s teen star, short hair there. Then there's this unconvincing trans woman saying books save lives. Then there's this Asian trans woman, ban hate. Then there's this African woman. It looks like she's lifting a top up. Says, if you don't like a book, put it down. And there's another unconvincing trans woman there. Then there's a couple more here. There's one who that looks like a cross between that black woman there, a cross between Michelle Obama and Serena Williams. Then there's at the front row a couple of short-haired lesbians there. And then there's just the standard gross looking lefty bearded man. You got the picture there. Now the local Cumberland residents who turned up to defend the removal of the book, mainly men of Middle Eastern appearance. But there was also some women, mothers, and grandmothers. They gave it back to them. Their main chant was "Leave our kids alone." They also chanted, "Why are you gay?" quoting that Ugandan pastor. That's his favorite catchphrase. "Why are you gay and eat the poo poo?" So, despite the opposition to the removal of the book coming from not the local area, and the locals who did turn up supported the book being removed. It is back in council libraries. We don't. You wonder if there'll be a act of vigilantism with a local just taking the book and destroying it. This book was only checked out once in the past 5 years. It's basically there for political propaganda purposes. You can download the book for free now and look through it. Basically, it uses that same-sex parenting needs to be accepted for anti-bullying reasons. That's basically, so it's a form of moral blackmail. You don't support bullying children, so you should support same-sex parents. Now, there is a number of books that I can guarantee probably will be removed from lots of council and school libraries, and that is a series of children's books by author Ponemevar. So He has been charged for the alleged grooming of a child, allegedly sent inappropriate photos and video to who he believed was a 13-year-old girl. So he fell for a sting. So the Thai Australian was arrested Friday morning at a home in Old Guildford with police seizing several electronic devices. Detectives believe that Mr. Van used his position as a children's author to engage in inappropriately with children online. He was granted bail by a magistrate on conditions including a $5,000 security, not using or possessing an internet-capable device, and not entering or loitering around places of education or entertainment accessed by people under 18, such as schools, parks, and shopping centres. I assume he's still allowed to go to the supermarket to eat. He must also report to police and not consume both alcohol and drugs. So, innocent until proven guilty, but those are pretty serious bail conditions there. So Mr. Pompeo became a published children's author through his book Terrific, which was shortlisted for the Young Australians Best Book Award and Kids' Own Australian Literary Award 5 years in a row. According to his website, he developed a passion for writing with kids using his experience and a primary school teacher, and had been ambassador for the New South Wales Reading Challenge, as well as an advocate for global literacy and gender inequality with organisation Room to Read, and also promoted through his books multicultural themes as well. This is one of the videos he put out, well, before he was arrested, promoting one of his events.
Other awesome authors as we take you through the magical world, the wonderful world of what it's like to be an author. You'll get to find out what inspires me to write funny books like Terrific and also Con Nerd, and you get to meet some of my friends, including this chunky monkey Leonardo. Hello. You also get to meet my other characters like Kirby, and even Wreck-It Ralph is joining the fun as well. We would love to see you there, so teachers, please get involved. Click on the link right now to register, and you'll get to see myself and many other authors. It's going to be a fantastic day. What are you waiting for? It's going to be so much fun. I'll see you there. Bye!
Obviously, watching that back now, it's incredibly creepy. Now, of course, none of the organizations he worked with would have had any idea. And this is, of course, the sad reality that that industries where there is access to children attract predators and child molesters as well. Again, he is innocent until proven guilty. But I previously spoke to you about that Identification Discovery mini-series, Quiet on Set, about the exploitation of children on Nickelodeon shows, including the repeated rape and sexual assault of Drake Bell by that homosexual child molester, Brian Peck. And there's still in the churches, there's still pastors who are being arrested for child pornography or child rape. Like, I just Googled pastor arrested, and there's a whole list that pops up. They're mainly in the United States. This is why, obviously, you can't treat everybody who works around children with suspicion, but certainly need to be alert to the warning signs. It sounded like the authorities, going back to this children's author, had been watching him for some time. Again, innocent until proven guilty, but at least we are allowed to know his name. This is not the case over in the UK, where a suppression order means that the identity of a TV sports presenter arrested on suspicion of raping a child. This was broken by The Sun. They're allowed to report that a TV sports presenter has been arrested for alleged child rape, but cannot reveal his identity. So the rape allegation is historical and involves a child who was under 10 years of age at the time. As alleged, the child was raped on more than one occasion over a period of time. That alleged sick fuck. So his boss has been made aware of the police investigation and his arrest, though it was thought that the presenter's TV colleagues were unaware. The complaint made through allegation recently was reported to police. So it quotes a neighbor of the arrested man. The police turned up very early, took him away, and were there for a while carrying out a search. Everyone is shocked at his arrest. So again, this is absolutely disgusting that the British legal system is protecting a predatory alleged TV sports presenter pedophile. So you remember that the Sun, they were the first to report on. Well, they didn't name Hugh Edwards at the time. That he was the BBC prominent BBC presenter who'd paid £35,000 to a young person for explicit Snapchat videos and images, which began when the youth was 17. Now, there was no restriction on reporting Hugh Edwards' name. But it basically turned into a game of Guess Hugh, with prominent BBC personalities saying, wasn't me. Hugh Edwards, he took mental health leave and was only recently left the BBC on health advice. So, and he hasn't been charged or anything. The police said he had no case to answer. Mitch says, I'm in a hate people mood lately. Do you ever walk around thinking that this is a world of delusion? Everything is upside down. Everything is certainly upside down. A lot of my Tim's News explosions are pretty blackpilling. It's my reality check radio news, Australian news reports. That's the radio station in New Zealand. I do Wilms reports for the breakfast program with Paul Brennan. I sadly have to report pretty depressing news from Australia. Of course, the UK is even worse. Now, moving on to the US, where the 2024 presidential campaign will really begin to kick off in the summer. So there's already going to be a presidential debate on June the 27th on CNN. Donald Trump accepted Joe Biden's challenge to a debate.
Donald Trump lost 2 debates to me in 2020. Since then, he hadn't shown up for debate. Now he's acting like he wants to debate me again. Well, make my day, pal. I'll even do it twice. So let's pick the dates, Donald. I hear you're free on Wednesdays.
Did anyone see the cuts and the jumps there in Biden's Twitter X video there, challenging Trump to a debate? Now, we know that Joe Biden's running mate will be Kamala Harris. We don't know who Trump's VP pick will be, because it's certainly not going to be Mike Pence. It's now not going to be Kirsty Noem, ever since she wrote in her book about her killing the young hunting dog, which she said that she hated this dog because it attacked neighbors' chickens. So she wrote of shooting and killing also wrote of shooting a nasty and mean male goat that smelled and liked to chase their children shortly after killing the dog. So she said she said that this was a good thing because it allowed her to make the tough decisions. But it's not many people like a dog killer. Now, there've been a lot of people defending her, saying that this is farm life and it was a dangerous dog. Though it could have been found a good home if it wasn't suitable enough for a farm. So 66% of registered voters don't support her, Kirsty Noem, the governor of South Dakota, killing the dog. 13% approve. I swear that some conservative influencers, such as Michael Knowles, just defended her to be edgy. Now Trump, he's been quoted by a private source that he's not going to pick her because how can he be tough on Dr. Fauci for torturing dogs in science experiments and pick a dog killer as his running mate? But when asked about it, says we all have bad weeks. But what really, well, pardon the pun, shot Kirsty Noem's chances of VP was that it's clear she didn't even write the book because she was asked, oh, you said you met Kim Jong-un. She said, no, that didn't happen. I've asked my editors to take that out. So that's the end of her. And there was some reports that he was going to pick Nikki Haley, but that was fake news, folks. Fake news. So Trump posted on Twitter X, Nikki Haley is not under consideration for the VP slot, but I wish her well. So fake news, folks. Now, let's focus on some more white pilling news. And so remember the Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, not all of the team is like Taylor Swift's boyfriend, Travis Kelce, who's a woke spokesman for Pfizer and Bud Light. There are some based traditionalists in the team, such as Harrison Butker. So he made a commencement speech at a Catholic university where he unashamedly defended his Catholic faith stood against Joe Biden for being a Catholic in favor of abortion, against degenerate pride months, and banning quoting the Bible about who killed Jesus because it's deemed anti-Semitic.
Throughout the COVID fiasco, and how you missed out on so many milestones the rest of us older people have taken for granted. While COVID might have played a large role throughout your formative years, it is not unique. Bad policies and poor leadership have negatively impacted major life issues. Things like abortion, IVF, surrogacy, euthanasia, as well as a growing support for degenerate cultural values in media, all stem from the pervasiveness of disorder. Our own nation is led by a man who publicly and proudly proclaims his Catholic faith, but at the same time is delusional enough to make the sign of the cross during a pro-abortion rally. He has been so vocal in his support for the murder of innocent babies that I'm sure to many people, it appears that you can be both Catholic and pro-choice. He is not alone. From the man behind the COVID lockdowns to the people pushing dangerous gender ideologies onto the youth of America, they all have a glaring thing in common. They are Catholic. This is an important reminder that being Catholic alone doesn't cut it. These are the sorts of things we are told in polite society to not bring up. You know, the difficult and unpleasant things. But if we are going to be men and women for this time in history, we need to stop pretending that the Church of Nice is a winning proposition. We must always speak and act in charity, but never mistake charity for cowardice. It is safe to say that over the past few years, I've gained quite the reputation for speaking my mind. I never envisioned myself nor wanted to have this sort of a platform, but God has given it to me, so I have no other choice but to embrace it and preach more hard truths about accepting your lane and staying in it. As members of the church founded by Jesus Christ, it is our duty and ultimately privilege to be authentically and unapologetically Catholic. Don't be mistaken, even within the church, people in polite Catholic circles will try to persuade you to remain silent. There even was an award-winning film called Silence, made by a fellow Catholic, wherein one of the main characters, a Jesuit priest, abandoned the church and as an apostate, when he died, is seen grasping a crucifix, quiet and unknown to anyone but God. As a friend of Benedictine College, His Excellency Bishop Robert Barron said in his review of the film, "It was exactly what the cultural elite want to see in Christianity: private, hidden away, and harmless." Our Catholic faith has always been countercultural. Our Lord, along with countless followers, were all put to death for their adherence to her teachings. The world around us says that we should keep our beliefs to ourselves whenever they go against the tyranny of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We fear speaking truth because now, unfortunately, truth is in the minority. Congress just passed a bill where stating something as basic as the biblical teaching of who killed Jesus could land you in jail. But make no mistake, before we even attempt to fix any of the issues plaguing society, we must first get our own house in order, and it starts with our leaders.
Now, what was incredibly white-pilling is that he has not been cancelled for this, although Rolling Stone said it was anti-LGBT, anti-Semitic commencement address. But the daughter of the owner of the Kansas City Chiefs defended Harrison Buchter. And even Whoopi Goldberg of The View defended him, that he's entitled to his opinions. Now, as you all know, I'm a pro-lifer. I'm not a Catholic, though, but it's the commandment, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not murder, I should say, is pretty black and white when it comes to abortion. You can't be a pro-life Catholic. That is just an oxymoron. And that was certainly a better commencement address than Joe Biden's at a black college.
It's natural to wonder if democracy you hear about actually works for you. What is democracy? If black men are being killed in the street, what is democracy? Betrayal of broken promises still leave black communities behind. What is democracy? You have to be 10 times better than anyone else to get a fair shot. And most of all, what does it mean, as we've heard before, to be a black man who loves his country, even if it doesn't love him back in equal measure?
And did anyone catch the first official portrait of King Charles? Well, it's not the first portrait of King Charles, but the first since he became king. And a lot of people said they're just not even hiding it anymore. Yeah, so it looks like that he's bathing in blood, and it's like there is some evidence that some globalists drink young blood. Adochrome, I can't pronounce it, to live longer, though King Charles, of course, has cancer down there. So if he is drinking some of that young blood, it is not having the desired effect. Although some people also said that maybe he chose a black painting so it would be just stop oil proof when they throw tomatoes or red paint in it. It's already red. And also, where's Kate Middleton? I know that David Clues over at Unity News Network, he and I've privately corresponded with him. He does think that it's quite possible that William has murdered Kate, and so they're going through this cancer diagnosis, and she's going to eventually pass away. And so they're going to cover up that William murdered her. Let me know in the comments what you think of that theory, because he's been getting a lot of backlash, David Clues of Unity News Network, for, because it's quite a out there theory that the heir to the throne murdered his beloved wife and mother of his 3 children. So yeah, we shall see if Kate, because King Charles, he's doing royal duties even though he's got cancer, and he's mid-70s. Kate is in her early 40s. Yet she hasn't been seen in public. Dawn says, Clues cracks me up, but I can't help but like him. Brucey says, wouldn't be surprised. And now, did anyone catch the end of America First with Nick Fuentes on, it's Friday night US time, which is Saturday morning Australian time. He switched the Cozy and Rumble stream off, and then what came up on the Cozy stream was some graphic gay pornography. And Drew Pavlou, he said this is proof that Nick Fuentes is gay. He said America's leading Nazi propagandist Nick Fuentes accidentally streamed himself watching gay porn today. His fans are trying to blame Mossad and the Jews. And Nick said, totally ridiculous how people can spread lies with impunity like this. Every day they make up a new lie that goes viral before and you correct the previous one. He posted on his Telegram channel, Nick, how this what he said, Mossad IDF, Unit 500 account or 200, hacked his a vulnerability in the Cozy streaming software to stream it. And I know that the group is saying yes, that makes complete sense. While obviously his critics such as Drew Pavlou and Avi Yemeni are saying, sure, yeah, they're Jews, Mossad, and the IDF. It made you accidentally stream gay porn. Now, I'll say for what it's worth, if Nick was same-sex attracted or even asexual, because he shows no interest in women, which is it like it would if he was asexual or same-sex attracted, it would explain why he is so objective when it comes to the women, like when it comes to these trad thoughts such as Lauren Southern, Sydney Watson, and Ashley St. Clair. One of the golden groyper rules from the beginning is no e-girls ever, and that has stood the test of time. Nick, he has said that he does want to get married and have children with a woman, but he's not looking forward to it. But he knows that it's his duty to perpetuate the white race. Brucey says there is zero evidence of Nick being attracted to women. might be proof that he's bi, but not necessarily gay. Nick identifies as an incel, says he's never kissed a girl. So, is this something that Mossad would or the IDF would do? I know that Nick, he basically says on his show that he can't trust any Jews. So, are they that worried about his influence and the America First conservative traditionalist one that they try to discredit him in that way? It doesn't seem to have worked. If that is the case. So, and there's also, of course, the usual. There's already people claiming that Mossad, the IDF, are responsible for the helicopter crash near the Iranian-Azerbaijan border that killed the president of Iran, Ebrahim Raisi, and Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdollahian. I think that's how you say it. So Israel immediately said, we didn't do it. The US intelligence community immediately said, we didn't do it. I know that people replied saying, that's what somebody who did that would say. But it looks to me that it was just a accident because, well, they were flying in a treacherous terrain and with heavy fog. I mean, so many famous people have died in helicopter crashes. I would not get in a helicopter. That is the mistake there. Maybe the Armenians did it because, of course, the ongoing conflict that barely gets any attention. It's all about Israel Palestine, but the geopolitical conflicts that's been going on for 30 plus years that never gets any attention is between Armenia and Azerbaijan. They don't recognize each other, which also begs the question: why can a Palestinian state only be recognized by the United Nations after a peace process with Israel? Why can't Palestine be recognized now? Because using that theory that Israel has to agree to Palestine being recognized, of course, what is it? Australia voted in favor of recognizing that Palestine has an application to join the United Nations, and there's also a vote on kicking Israel out of FIFA for the foreseeable future. But if Armenia and Azerbaijan don't recognize each other, then shouldn't they both not exist by this logic here? I'm just trying to make sense of it here. But yes, of course, the Armenians, the Azerbaijans, the Armenians are under constant genocidal threat from their Azerbaijan neighbors. They've already been subjected to one genocide by the Ottoman Turks. D-Mail says, just because you export oil doesn't mean you're qualified to fly a machine that uses it. The Islamic regime has blamed US sanctions that they couldn't get good Boeing parts for their helicopters. Like, are you seriously saying that Boeing materials would have made your helicopter more secure, given what's happened with Boeing aircrafts? And of course, then there's the whistleblowers mysteriously dying as well. I'm digressing here a lot, but yes, it does look like it was a helicopter crash because of a crummy helicopter flying into a treacherous terrain. We also had the attempted assassination by the Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico by a 71-year-old liberal activist. So Robert Fico, he's been a long time nationalist political leader, critical of European involvement in Ukraine, critical of the COVID narrative, and also there has been a coalition agreement in the Netherlands, which will include Geert Wilders' Party for Freedom. He won't become Prime Minister, but even though he is the largest party, he decided that he would not take the prime ministership because he wanted to. It was more important for his party to be part of a coalition. Now, this weekend, there'll be another worldwide freedom rally this Saturday midday in all capital cities around Australia. And to finish off the show, Nick Patterson, it was the Victoria Police. They plan to discontinue their prosecution of Nick Patterson for allegedly assaulting Victoria Police, even though the evidence was ruled. So the evidence was ruled inadmissible. The police body cam and statements. I interviewed Nick recently, so you can't have a prosecution with no evidence. Though Nick, he is not satisfied with this. He wants him and his co-accused to be properly found not guilty. So he recorded this in the car back from his way from court and posted on his Flight Police Corruption channel.
Just want to give you an update on today's court hearing. It's been adjourned off to the 11th and 12th of June. The prosecution wanted to discontinue the charges, which would essentially be a win, but it's a win without being a win, because by discontinuing the charges doesn't mean that we are found not guilty. And effectively they could raise those charges at a later date. And Adam and myself, we have a right to be found not guilty for those alleged offences that we were prosecuted for, given that, you know, that we've already got a ruling which establishes that we're not guilty. But by them discontinuing the prosecution, it's basically it's not honourable. It's not anything that we're going to accept. Okay, nothing less than not guilty for all of those charges, and I think it's wrong that the prosecution can do this, that they can just drag people through the courts for years and years and then just decide to discontinue the charges whenever they want. And legislation does enable them to do this, but there's situations where legislation, the legislation will be trumped by cases and principles in our judicial system. So we're raising this. I guess it's a challenge. We're going to raise some submissions anyway in regards to contesting the discontinuance from the prosecution. And I think given that we've got all the public support now and we've got the mainstream media reporting and putting pressure on the police and the DPP, we've got a judge that's ruling in our favour, and we have all the support from the freedom community. I think it's time now. We've got them on the ropes. Let's keep punching. Anyway, guys, thank you. Thank you so much for the support, and God bless.
So Nick, he as he said to me, he is still planning to sue Victoria Police for, they imprisoned him for 29 days on remand, then tried to gag him with bail conditions. I saw that Mitch up here said that I predict if Tim goes to the gym for 3 months, he will 10 times his viewers. Lol. People are fickle like that. Don't blame the messenger. Lol. I remember Thomas Sewell, when he was in the chat, one episode of Tim's News Explosion, said, "Hit the gym, Wilms." I wish I was a natural born gym junkie like Saul and Blair Cottrell. I do some basic brisk walks most days, obviously to get fresh air as well. So yeah, that is that. Thank you for the additional advice and motivation as well. Of course, I can't do this program without your support. So you can support The Unshackled at theunshackled.substack.com/support. subscribe. So we have memberships over at for monthly for $5, annual for $50, founding member for $500 per year, and then the unshackled.net/memberships, because we still have the Unshackled websites for. Now, as you can see, when I switch from website to website, type in web addresses, you can see my URL history, and there it's all above board. There's no dirty, seedy websites, so I'm not in danger of if of having a Nick Fuentes moment. Just thought I'd FYI there. My computer's clean. So over we have the unshackled.net, where our articles are /membership. We have bronze $5 per month, silver $10 per month, gold $25 per month, platinum $50 per month. And I have new reports from Tiger Mountain with Richard Wollstonecroft, which I recorded at the end of last Friday. And remember, wherever you're watching, make sure to give a thumbs up, like, comment below, because it all helps with the algorithm as well. There's no Wilms Front featured interview programs. So I will let you know if I've got a guest lined up and what time it is as well. But I will be there on Saturday to cover the Worldwide Freedom Rally. I haven't seen anything come out of the Telegram channel yet, the Melbourne Freedom Rally channel, but I'll certainly be there. And I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to a Tucker Carlson in Melbourne yet on July 1. Let me know in the comments if you're planning to go as well. I'm not sure if it's still weighing up whether it's worth the investment. So I'll discuss it with you followers and make a decision very soon. There's ads on the TV, and there was ads on the front of the Herald Sun today for the Tucker Carlson tour. You better get a visa to come here. It better be happening, unlike the Donald Trump Jr. tour. But that's it for tonight. Thank you so much for watching, for commenting, chatting, and supporting. And I will see you all again next Monday, 9 p.m. Melbourne time on all the Wilms Front channels. Good night. Stay safe. Stay sane. Stay off digital ID. Stay optimistic. And also in this Melbourne crazy weather, stay warm as well. And I will see you all again very soon. Good night.
Tim's News Explosion. 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 Tim's